I'm at the gym. I'm in the bathroom because I've had a nosebleed, but I think I had the nosebleed so that I could stop and really meditate on the realization that I'm meant to be a life coach. That is my calling. I had this moment here at the gym at like, what time is it? Probably 10:25 a.m. And I know it. Welcome to Brianna Entrepreneur. I'm Brianna and I'm an entrepreneur. Today I thought I would talk about finding your purpose, because your purpose is what everything is about. And I think a lot of people don't expect their life and their careers to be about purpose. So I'm going to talk to you about my experience finding my purpose, the things that I think impact that, and what I have to offer you to help you find your purpose. Again, my name is Brianna. You can follow me on @Brianna Entrepreneur on Instagram. This channel is about my entrepreneurship journey. I just started a business in April and we're going into June 2020. I'm still doing that business, but I do have something else I want to share with you. I'm going to go ahead and get in the story. So if you watch the beginning of this video, I don't know why you wouldn't at this point. You saw me have the moment where I felt like I knew what my purpose was. I feel like it's important to say that you can know, like you can have a clarity on that topic. I think a lot of people, until I had that moment, I would have told you that my purpose is one thing or another. I didn't know that there was going to be like a confirming moment to affirm what I thought my purpose was. So I want to put that out there. So unless you feel like you've been given confirmation in your spirit, you probably don't quite know what your purpose is yet. I think a lot of people can reason what their purpose should be, but they don't really know for themselves. But you can know for yourself. So in 2018, when I had my son, I was about to go back to work. I really didn't want to. I was working customer service, which is not a good job for me. Not because it's customer service, which is like, I mean, working in customer service where I worked is like one of the best customer service jobs you could have. But it was just really hard on me. If you're a person that is really worried about people's stuff being right, customer service is not for you. But I did not want to go back to work. I wanted to stay home with my son. And at that point I was like, I need to find a way. So I started looking at other options, and I had a couple of ideas that were ways I could make money, but they weren't necessarily for me. But at the time, I didn't really know the difference in something being a good opportunity and the right opportunity. So I began my journey at that point, but it started with identifying that I didn't have to take what I was given, and just deciding I was qualified to pursue what was actually meant for me. So I was originally going to be a virtual assistant, and I was also interested in freelance writing. Then later that summer, just realized I didn't really want to be a virtual assistant. I actually wanted to work for myself, not others. And that's probably why being a virtual assistant, I just like couldn't get my mind around it. Then I was blogging. I'd had a blog since 2015, but I was like, I'm going to try to make this a business. And it just seemed like I could never really get my energy lined up in the right place. Like I would do a lot of work, but it just didn't seem to be the right work. It seemed like every little aspect of being a full-time blogger was just like so much work. It just seemed really hard. So I still pursued that. It was hard because I had an infant and I was going through like what every entrepreneur goes through with the self-doubt and just like not trusting oneself. Once I got beyond that, I guess about a year later, I was still trying to figure out what I was going to do. I had looked into some other things. I had started Mary Kay And those all seemed like, Mary Kay seemed like the right thing for me to do, but I knew it wasn't the thing for me. But I knew that there was some value I could get from it. The blog was still a struggle. I completely redid the blog, and I worked on the blog and a podcast summer 2019. I also had written this book, No Girlfriend Left Behind, A Partner's Guide to U.S. Army Basic, which I'm really proud of, but that also didn't go like I wanted it to go. So with the blog, I was really proud of the work I was able to do, but it was really hard to get people to participate so I could have enough content. So that was like a barrier that just made it, if I could get people to do what I wanted, I think it would have seemed like a better option for me. And then with the book, once I finally got it written and everything, I could not get it printed, and I still don't have it printed. It's available in ebook, but it was really important to me to have a physical book. I had also worked on freelance writing a few times in this whole time, and it just also never really worked out. I never really wanted to do it. I would start setting up my website, start looking for publications to try to write for, and it just didn't really work out for me. I think that's important to note, because a lot of people come to the point where you're like, this is just too hard, it's not working, and you hear that's when you really need to put your head down and keep going. And I think that matters at some point. I mean, I feel there are a lot of things that we try to do that take a lot of skill that you need to go through the process of learning. But that's different from something just simply not working out for you and just not feeling good. With the business I have now, Success Unlocked, we do coaching and training. I had to learn a lot of stuff to be able to set up the website, start the business, create the structure, like do all these things. It seemed like a lot of work. It was hard, but it never seemed like I never didn't really want to do it. I still wanted to do it. Now I've had issues because I feel self-conscious. I feel like I don't know what the crowd wants, that type of thing. But it's not a matter of like, it's hard for me to get myself to do this, or it's hard to overcome this to help me do this. Now, Mary Kay is something that I really enjoyed, but it's something that like it feels really hard for me to do, because I'm not the type of person that's going to mass message people. That's just really not me. And so now I know what that feels like. I've had all these experiences that help me to be able to tell, this is when it feels right, this is when it's not right. So in November 2019, I was getting this sense, even though I had put in all this work and done like 13 episodes of a podcast for Bride on Base, my blog, and I had written this book and I liked the process of writing a book, I was like, I think this is not what I'm meant to be doing. And at that point I had no more options, because I just didn't have any more options. And I became depressed for about almost 6 weeks, maybe 4 or 5 weeks. And during that time, I just was like, I'm about to go get a job. I'm tired of this process. It's exhausting, and I just want to be on my way so bad, and nothing is working out for me. I was really discouraged. So I really was depressed. I really did talk to my husband about getting a job, and he said, you can have a career, but you can't have a job. Meaning, if it wasn't going to be something that I wanted to do or something that I wanted to grow into, he didn't want me to do it. And he also said I couldn't do it until he finished his master's, which was this month, May 2020. So I was just kind of there, and then I met this guy at a party, and he just asked about me in general, and I kind of told him the whole story. Now, he did ask for the whole story. I told him the story, and he said, you are in a period of rest. You need to rest and have grace for yourself, because you've been doing a lot for a long time, and this is the time to just relax. So that was really helpful for me, because I did need to just relax. Like, there are periods where the seeds have to grow under the ground. Then I went on a cruise, and on the cruise, I realized I needed to plan this pitch for my friend to make the $2,000 I spent on knowledge-based business blueprint worthwhile. And that's when I decided I should go ahead and become a business coach, and I started learning about that. And then in listening to that notion, like, okay, you already know you want to do this, why are you adding all these extra steps? Just go ahead and work on the thing that you want to do and get better by doing it, as opposed to becoming qualified before you do it. So I had that thought, and then in researching that, I started to realize, I honestly really want to be a life coach. I need to move into that. So I was like, well, if I feel like I can be a business coach, then I can be a life coach. And it was while I was listening to a video about deep coaching that it came to me like, this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and you just need to listen to me and take it from here. The other thing I did after I had that period of depression is I just told God that you're going to have to show me what to do. I don't know what I'm doing. You're going to have to show me. I started doing Bible in a year. So I feel like I'm learning about who God is from the Old Testament, and I'm strengthening my relationship with God that way. So since I realized what my calling was, I have just been in a process. Like, it's happening. Not that these different opportunities are coming up. I mean, I am having different opportunities, but I have a very strong sense of being prepared. Like, the different things that happen are preparing me to move forward. And I can tell when I'm supposed to do something. I'm very comfortable stopping, asking, what should I do here? And waiting for my feelings to align for me to take that action. So I'm going to stop there and talk about what I feel it took for me to get to this place. I think initially when I realized I did not want to go back to work, I think it was important for me to give myself permission to pursue something bigger, because I think a lot of us feel like, who am I to want to escape the rat race? Who am I to want to be fulfilled? It's just, you think it's got to be some special person, but from my research, if you're thinking about it, you are qualified to do it. So making that choice. I think since my 20s, I've been working on lessening my ego. So I had an intern, I was 25. I had a few interns, and there was one I really loved. Cannot think of her name. She was awesome. You were awesome. And my manager said, you just got to get one really bad one, and then you'll really be seasoned. And I had a bad one, and that's when I realized I had to start thinking about how am I treating her based on how I want to feel, and how am I responding that's out of wanting to make myself seem important. It was one of those situations, we were close to the same age, but I was above her, so she didn't want to respect me, but she needed to. So that's when I started learning that lesson, lessening my ego, questioning my actions. Why do I feel this way? What is this really about? And also later in my 20s, going through a healing and trying to determine, do I have this belief because of this past experience, or is it something that I'm really feeling now? So I think that was really important. Then I had to kind of break out of what everybody else thinks is normal and good. So that came also when I was about to go back to work. I had to understand that money is not, it's not necessarily worth what the value of it is. So I had lost $2,800 trying to start a master's program at Louisiana's University, LSU, Louisiana University, online for a Master's of Social Work program. They really mishandled it, so I had to pay money to take a prereq course, and then I paid to enroll, but they gave me like a few days to get all this stuff done, get my books. It was a really stressful time. I ended up having to drop, and I lost $1,600. And my brother-in-law said, you just lose money sometimes. You lose money sometimes. So I had to understand, like, money isn't necessarily, okay, I don't have a degree for that money, or I don't have those credit hours, but the experience itself was worth something. And not going through with the negative experience of like trying to finish that class was also worth something. And money is just kind of like here and there. Like, I can't be afraid to lose money if I really want to move forward. So I had to just accept that I lost that money. Then when I was going back to work, I had to realize, while I can go to work and make money, I'm still gonna have to pay someone to watch my child. And is it really, what value is the money if I'm being kept from doing the thing that I value more than the money, which would be staying home with my child? So at that point, I had to kind of like separate from money and separate from the world feels is important, which is money, status, and like, well, I guess money, status, social norms in general. I also started working on that framework when I couldn't find a job when I moved to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So first started with choosing to be chosen, or like allowing myself to pursue more, giving myself that permission. I think it was necessary for me to have challenged my ego and learned to do that consistently. And then I also had to like break away from what the world said was best. Also the debt and all that. We did Financial Peace University, which is another way to help us to like break away from how the world views money and how the world views things that are value. And then the next part was like just learning to listen to God. And that's happened in the last year, like learning to ask, learning to meditate, learning to look for signs, and like let people be a part of the process. This spring, this COVID season has been almost like kind of monumental for me. I've had a lot of healing, and I've also had some relationships in, or a relationship in, and I had to just be in a space of like observing that these things are being done in my life, even if I'm not actively doing it. I'm not orchestrating it. I'm just a part of it. So when it came up for that relationship to end, I could easily be like, but I was having so much restoration. Like, why would I have to go through this? But me in a place of understanding and learning about how God works in our lives, I'm just looking at that like, you know, this is outside of my hands. I just have to observe that cutting off that energy is a part of this plan. If something huge has happened, it's for the best. So that is really important, because if I didn't take the little steps and listen to the voices, then how would I know? That's the only way I'm going to find what God wants me to do. We are usually too narrow-minded to really see what the options are. Another thing I did was I got a journal this year. I wrote down like all the things that I want to experience in the next 18 months. And I wrote down like all these ways it could happen. So one of the things was, well, this is not on it, but let's say I wanted to buy a laptop. I wrote down all these things, which helped me to expand like the ways things can happen in my mind. But I never would have put down, I can get $1,200 because of a global pandemic. Like that would have bought my MacBook Pro, and that was like outside of the realm of things that I would have expected to happen to me. So I just feel like it's important to be open and be listening, because the way God can put things in your path or like have you move is like we're not going to be able to predict that. So it's important to be in a position of listening and being receptive. Lastly, I think it's important to dream, and I'm strangely like understanding that I have dreams that are more than just I want a walk-in closet and a theater in my house. Like those are great goal points, but I'm learning to listen to what's in my heart that may be something that God wants me to experience and wants me to contribute to. And I think that that's important, to constantly be aware again of like everything that can be in store for us, and like developing those visions and putting them out there so that we can be even more tuned into the opportunities that arise to enable us to realize those visions and those dreams. So that's what I have to say about purpose and finding one's purpose. I think it's a whimsical experience, but I do think that there is kind of like some things you can intentionally go through, or some paradigm shifts you can work toward making that will help you to come into this process sooner. And it's not really sooner, because if you initiate the process on your own, it happens. However you come to it, it happens when it's supposed to happen. But for me, when I was in my 20s, I just so badly wanted more, and I didn't even know where to start. Like having the framework that I just laid out, I think would have given me something to work on, so that I would have been more primed for opportunities that may have already come up in the past. So that said, I am hosting a mastermind called You Transformed, and this is going to be all those things I talked about in a week-by-week format for 5 weeks, so that I can help you understand a phase that I feel will help you to be receptive for your purpose. So week 1 is the choice to be chosen, giving yourself permission to pursue more. Week 2 is challenging the ego. What is it why do I have this belief? Why am I acting like this? Why do I say this? Because those things that we do that aren't from us, they're from our negative experiences, or the pressure we feel, or the wounds. That's deafening us to the real messages telling us what's next for us. The choice to be chosen, challenging the ego, breaking away from the world, trying to break down those things that we think we should do next. Like you think you should go to college, you think you should get married and have a kid, you think you should buy a brand new car. Like breaking away from that stuff, because that's another thing that distracts us from what's actually meant for us. And then discerning your purpose, which is the place at which you are aware that something's unfolding for you and you're in a receptive mode. So we'll talk about what that's like and what you need to be looking for and how you know that you're in it. I mean, we're all in it, but like when you're aware you're in it, it's that much more impactful. And you can even appreciate the process more because you know what's happening. And lastly, it's unveiling your vision, because we have to know where we're going. Even if you have your purpose, there's still something God has put in our hearts for us to experience that is an self-actualization, the fullness of self. I think it's important to know what it is really reflects all of you and those things that God has put in your heart to contribute to the world, or the role to play in the world, even if it's not exactly related to what you feel your purpose is. So if you're interested in that experience, 5 weeks, we're doing just women right now, but I'm sure in the future it'll be open to all sorts of people. Please go to my website, briannaweldon.com/you transformed, and check out the course. If you feel any draw to it, go ahead and sign up. If you feel if you are interested at all in what I'm saying, go to the link. If you feel drawn when you're there, sign up. Don't question it. Just be in a receptive mode and go from there. I'm not convincing anyone to do anything, but if you feel something right now, then it is for you. And I'm excited to go on this journey with you and get to know you guys more, being on this side of the camera and still building my audience. I'm excited to interact with people out there in the internet. So I really hope that was a helpful conversation, and I really hope that even if you don't end up in You Transformed, I really hope that you have some more awareness about how this journey may unfold for you and what things you can do to help further along the process. So keep watching my channel and staying tuned for more information about You Transformed, as well as my other business. And here's my son coming out to join us. Okay, if you're here at the end of this video, thanks for taking the time to watch it. Please like and subscribe and share with someone that you feel might need a little bit of help in the right direction. Have a great 2020.